your own platform. He said this on your platform that he put up $1 million to get Pac here.
Yeah, correct. He was around Puffy, and Puffy made a comment.
Puffy D named Diddy 77 times in court documents related to Tupac.
The FBI has finally cracked the code, or at least that's what the newest stack of leaked files is claiming. And what a code it is. Decades after Shakur's exit from the stage of life, the whole story might be turning on its head. Those documents aren't just dusty government paperwork. They're dynamite, and the fuse has been lit. Because what's inside is the kind of thing that could shake hip-hop to its billionaire foundations, putting the legacies of Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs in a kind of jeopardy nobody saw coming. We're not talking about a beef or a diss track. This is a hurricane blowing straight into the heart of the industry. And suddenly, it's Shakur, always the revolutionary, positioned not just as another star cut down in his prime, but as a whistleblower who saw the end coming and started collecting receipts before the curtain dropped.
These 3 law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
Think about it. While we were all speculating about faked exits, sightings in Cuba, and endless conspiracy theories, Shakur was reportedly playing chess in a game of snakes and ladders. According to these insider leaks, the story is that Shakur knew his days were numbered. He wasn't just looking over his shoulder, he was setting traps. He wasn't going quietly, and he sure wasn't going empty-handed. Word is, the late rapper compiled files. Dirt, secrets, names, all of it. Targeting 2 giants. Diddy, the party king with a closet already bursting with skeletons, and Jay-Z, the untouchable mogul whose clean image is suddenly on the verge of being permanently stained. The FBI has these files now, and if the public gets a peek, we could be watching the fall of 2 icons who built their empires on loyalty, legacy, and a talent for staying just ahead of scandal. The gravity of this revelation is almost too much to absorb in one breath. We've seen careers end over a single social media slip or a tell-all memoir. So what happens when decades-old documents resurface that allege blackmail, betrayal, and, if we believe the insiders, applauded takedown worthy of Hollywood? Imagine Shakur, with that trademark stare, collecting proof because he realized the system wasn't just ignoring his safety, it was actively working to erase him. Even now, the details coming from the FBI files are jaw-dropping. Industry sources are describing the evidence as devastating and career-ending, which, in the world of platinum records and private jets, isn't hyperbole. It's a threat.
Chaotic. It's hard to actually figure out what's what, but it's becoming clearer. It's becoming clearer and clearer, but...
And here's where it really gets ugly. The files supposedly include details of a hit list, the kind of thing you expect from a bad gangster flick, but not from the annals of hip-hop history. According to testimony from figures like Dwayne "Keefe" D. Davis, the last living suspect in Shakur's Vegas drive-by, Diddy wasn't just tangentially involved in the chaos. Keefe D's own confessions, and yes, the FBI is reading them too, allege that Diddy, in the heyday of East Coast-West Coast rivalry, put out a bounty on Shakur's head, a cool $1 million to make the problem disappear. It's an allegation that has haunted Diddy for years, popping up in documentaries, books, and now, court filings. But if the federal documents cross-reference the claims and match up with secret recordings or confidential interviews, then we're talking about a case that doesn't just tarnish a reputation, it rewrites the whole book. It's impossible not to feel the heartbreak of it all. Picture Shakur, just 25, riding high as the voice of a generation, an artist who changed the genre forever, now allegedly hunted by the very industry he propped up. He's not just a casualty of a violent feud, he's a symbol of how far the game will go to protect its own. The story goes even deeper, with sources inside the FBI saying that Shakur wasn't only stacking evidence against Diddy. Jay-Z's name is said to come up in those documents as well, not as the mastermind, but as a shadowy figure in the background. Silent complicity, the ultimate betrayal, if true. There are whispers that Jay-Z may have known about the plot, maybe even looked the other way, choosing empire building over brotherhood. Suddenly, every glossy brunch photo and every bubbly field handshake between Jay and Diddy starts to look a little different in the rearview mirror.
Jay-Z got his whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got it after. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your whooped.
The urgency in the air right now is thick enough to cut with a knife. The FBI isn't in the habit of making headlines for hip-hop drama, but the leaks, whether calculated or chaotic, are real enough that power brokers are already lawyering up. Because if these files are made public, if the world sees what Shakur was holding on to, it's not just a matter of losing business deals or sponsorships. We're talking about possible charges, ruined fortunes, and a legacy shattered in the span of a news cycle.
Sean has to take responsibility for what he did as an individual. Sean is the one who pulled that gun out. Sean is the one who shot. So he has to take responsibility for that.
And then, just as everyone is bracing for impact, a new rumor creeps into the spotlight and turns the dial from shocking to surreal. Jay-Z's alleged secret meeting with Shakur in Havana. For years, the myth has clung to the underside of the internet. Grainy photos, blurred faces, whispers in cigar bars on the Cuban coast. A meeting, they say, meant to broker peace. It would have been a historic sit-down, two giants shaking hands and squashing the beef before it became a blood feud. Instead, the story goes, the peace offering failed, the rift deepened, and both men left the island knowing the game was rigged. If Jay-Z really met Shakur in Cuba, what did they talk about? Did Jay warn him, try to save him, or just walk away with a clean conscience and a heavier wallet? The FBI files are rumored to include references to this encounter, potentially naming witnesses and linking Jay-Z to the kind of intrigue nobody wants splashed across TMZ. No one's confirming, but 3 industry veterans have said the agency is probing every detail. We all know the conspiracy theories. Shakur in Cuba, sipping rum, ducking the spotlight, occasionally showing up in blurry fan selfies or pixelated street footage. But suddenly those theories aren't just fan fiction. They're part of a wider, darker web that might ensnare 2 of the biggest names in music. One former bodyguard claims the escape was orchestrated by Panther associates and a well-paid hospital switch. Others say Fidel Castro himself signed off on the operation. Diddy and Jay-Z, meanwhile, have both denied any knowledge of what really happened. But when former associates start testifying, and when the FBI starts comparing statements with bank transfers and travel records, even the most airtight denials start to spring leaks.
I mean, that's Puffy's homie. You know what I mean? They have a relationship. They're friendly. They know each other.
As all of this unfolds, the questions keep stacking up and the stakes keep rising. Diddy's recent legal battles, the federal raids, the explosive testimony, the comparison to another infamous mogul whose name nobody wants to say out loud, are already pushing him to the brink. The court documents now reportedly name Diddy more than 70 times in connection with Shakur's 1996 shooting, with prosecutors waving old interviews and police confessions like a red flag in front of the media. Meanwhile, Jay-Z's lawyers are scrambling to fend off lawsuits of their own, including one that ties him, awkwardly and uncomfortably, to Diddy's own swirling vortex of allegations. It's a mess, and the industry is watching closely, wondering if the kingmakers have finally run out of clean exits. We can't ignore the emotional undertow here. For years, hip-hop has been obsessed with loyalty, trust, and legacy, the unbreakable codes that separate family from foe. But what happens when those codes break down? When the man everyone called a prophet is revealed as a one-man intelligence operation, gathering evidence because he knew his friends were actually enemies. It's not just career-ending, it's Shakespearean. A dynasty brought down not by outside forces, but by its own ambition and secrets.
A lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in, because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do. But some people are around.
Now, every sighting of Shakur in Havana, every old photo of Jay-Z and Diddy with arms around each other at a black tie gala, every quote from Keefe or Suge Knight gets re-examined under the harsh light of suspicion. Did Diddy really think he was untouchable? Did Jay-Z, the master of the rebrand, believe he could outrun the past forever? The FBI documents, if they're published, might finally answer the questions that have haunted hip-hop for a generation. And as insiders keep leaking details, as industry lawyers prepare for war, and as the public braces for the kind of fallout that could make the 1990s rivalry look tame, one thing is clear. Everything we thought we knew about the rise and maybe the fall of Jay-Z and Diddy could change overnight.
Now, I ain't trying to say that's some kind of conspiracy. Maybe some other shit was going on, or this, that, and the third. But brother, he had that conversation with K. Slade 2 weeks before he was murdered.
If the first act of this scandal is about secrets in dusty FBI files, the next act is about the lengths some will go to keep those secrets from ever seeing daylight. This is where we find ourselves staring into the abyss of Diddy's so-called Black Ops Squad, a phrase that's whispered backstage at award shows and scrawled in the margins of sworn testimony. Insiders, including a handful of former road managers and bodyguards with more to lose than gain, have described this team as less of a security detail and more like a private intelligence operation. Their job? Not just to keep the bubbly flowing and the VIP area clear, but to identify threats and erase them from the narrative by any means necessary.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70, that's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
We're not just talking about shutting down loose-lipped exes or cleaning up a nightclub mess. The stories that circulate in the industry's underbelly are far darker. Anonymous sources claim the Black Ops squad specialized in intimidation, visits at midnight, phone calls that promise trouble, buyouts made in cash-stuffed envelopes, and, in more than one case, payoffs to make police reports disappear. People close to the action say that once you cross a certain line, say trying to leak dirt about Diddy's business or hint at the real circumstances behind Shakur's shooting, you became a target. It's a chilling prospect, and the shadow of paranoia is still alive among those who worked the circuit in the 90s and early 2000s. Even in today's world where everyone has a camera and a lawyer on speed dial, there's a reason some stories never make it past a rumor. The human cost of this culture of silence is incalculable. The question that keeps surfacing, whether whispered in green rooms or shouted across radio interviews, is painfully simple. How many lives were twisted or outright destroyed to keep Diddy's empire safe? Former friends, bodyguards, even ex-lovers have vanished from the public eye, some moving overseas, others retreating to small towns. You know he's somewhere, smoking a Cuban cigar on an island, Suge Knight once told TMZ, half joking, half hinting at the reach of those who want inconvenient truths buried deep. The cold reality is that for every name we know, there are many more who didn't have a voice or were too afraid to use it.
Not surprised. You know, we all know who he is and how we get down, so that don't surprise me.
That paranoia didn't start and end with Diddy either. The industry's upper echelons have always operated on the principle that information is power, and power must be protected at any cost. We've seen this in the way major lawsuits get settled out of court, and DAs change hands faster than mixtapes, and witnesses recant after sudden financial windfalls. And now with the FBI reportedly holding on to documents that could implicate entire teams of fixers and silencers, the question is shifting. Are we about to see the dam break, or will the same old machinery grind into motion and swallow the evidence before it surfaces?
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
Which brings us to the FBI itself. If there's one institution with more secrets than the hip-hop world, it's the federal government. And just when you thought this saga couldn't take a stranger turn, rumors begin to surface about the agency's own hidden agenda. It's not just about investigating Diddy or Jay-Z anymore. It's about whether the FBI played a hand in orchestrating Shakur's so-called demise, or at the very least, letting it happen for their own purposes. The whispers are getting louder. Was Shakur actually a pawn? A reluctant informant sent deep into the heart of the industry to report back on gang ties, political alliances, and money laundering schemes? Did the feds allow him to disappear to Cuba, not just as an act of mercy, but as part of a deal that let him live out his days in exile in exchange for intelligence?
Was the incentive just revenge, or was the incentive for that supposed money that Puffy supposedly put up?
It sounds wild until you start connecting the dots. Shakur's ties to the Black Panthers, his activist parents, and his open disdain for authority made him a person of interest long before he became a chart-topping rapper. The lack of closure in his case has always smelled off. Fans have pointed to inconsistencies in the autopsy, the mysterious disappearance of the coroner, and the way nobody, including the LAPD, seemed all that eager to solve the case. Michael Nice, the security officer who claimed to have smuggled Shakur out of the country, spoke openly of the plan being sanctioned at the highest levels. "We took off and immediately knew we were safe. We felt good and it was like escaping from prison," he said, describing the escape flight that supposedly landed Shakur in Barbados before he vanished into Cuban obscurity. If the FBI was in on it or even turning a blind eye, what does that mean for the so-called justice system that claims to protect the truth? Every step further into this conspiracy feels like peeling back another rotten layer of an onion. And with every leak, the story gets murkier. On one side, we have government officials who insist the files are airtight, that the evidence will soon be public and the guilty will face real consequences. On the other, we have decades of cover-ups, payoffs, and bureaucratic runaround, a hall of mirrors that has trapped even seasoned detectives. Former FBI agents have gone on record hinting that federal law enforcement executed these warrants on Diddy's house not only because of current allegations, but because of tips and leverage dating back to the 90s. The government's silence is deafening, and when officials do speak, it's with carefully chosen words and lawyer-approved statements.
So they was placed to destroy the East Coast rap. And then along came a somebody. They was about to bring East Coast rap back. And there's nothing they could do about it. And this kid was finna put East Coast.
If the feds are ready to blow the lid off, why wait decades? Why sit on confessions, cross-country money trails, and witness testimony until every main player is either locked up or buried? Some believe it's about control. Others say the agency itself is hiding the fact that it once played both sides, using rappers as informants while letting criminal empires flourish because it served some greater agenda. Even now, with Diddy behind bars on a long list of accusations, racketeering, coercion, orchestrated parties that stretch the limits of legality, the focus never stays on one man for long. Every new court date, every civil suit brings fresh claims and counterclaims, some directly referencing files tied to the night Shakur disappeared from Las Vegas.
Did not want East Coast rappers to get big. They were suppressing all new artists that was coming out of New York. Jay and Diddy was doing that.
All these threads come together like a crime novel written in real time. The leaked documents, the alleged hit list, Jay-Z's mysterious meetings in Havana, the so-called Black Ops squad, and the FBI's silent hand in the background. It's a web with no clear way out. The hip-hop world has always been about power, survival, and reinvention, but this is a test unlike any before. The moguls who seemed invincible are now watching their empires wobble on the edge, one headline or court order away from collapse.
And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother.
We're standing on the edge of something unprecedented. If these files are published, if the witnesses come forward, if the secrets get dragged from shadow to spotlight, it could trigger a reckoning that reaches far beyond music. Big questions hang in the air. Who gets sacrificed? Who escapes untouched? And how many more will risk it all to finally speak the truth? This isn't just about Diddy or Jay-Z. It's about the systems that protected them, the families and artists caught in the crossfire, and the unspoken code that kept the whole house of cards standing for so long. So now we turn to you. The truth is out there, and it's only a matter of time before it shatters the foundations of the music world for good. But when the dust settles, who will be left standing? Will Diddy, Jay-Z, or even the feds themselves manage to keep their secrets buried? Or are we about to see the fall of an entire era? Drop your thoughts, wildest theories, or insider tips in the comments below. We want to know who you think is really pulling the strings. Until next time, keep your ears to the ground and your eyes wide open. This is one story that's nowhere near finished. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next scandal.